It's time now for the Conservative Curmudgeon Radio Show. Now, here's Grouchy.
Good evening and welcome in. It is Wednesday night on KLRN Radio. You know what that means, don't you? That's right. It's time for your grouch fix. Get your vitamin G. Yeah. Yeah. Your vitamin G right on the spot. Anyway, I've been absent a lot lately. I know this. I know. So it is good to be back. As I've said, I do like doing this. Summer schedule is over. I am back to normal hours. As I was telling Rick a little while ago, though, things are not quite back to normal, but the time is at least back to normal. So I think if I can make it through this week and next week and do a show next week too, I think we're going to be okay after that. Got more buildings that are underway that we have to do work in, but that's the nature of the beast. That keeps us employed. So I'm not terribly worried about that. They're all at different phases and stages. So everything is good. Normal schedule, normal work. I like it. I hate the summer garbage. I like summer weather, and I generally like having my Fridays off. But I usually spend my Fridays doing everything I would have done in the afternoons after I get off from work anyway. So it's really a wash. Means nothing to me. So whatever. Just a few more years of this. Retirement is getting closer and closer and closer.
I'm sorry, sir. You have to pay the copyright tax. Whatever was supposed to be the hour before you.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. It's the name
Were
of our
they were they complaining?
Well, no, it's the name of our show. Whatever. You use the title. Now you owe us money.
I owe you money. I'll tell you what. You can take it out of my cut of next month's bills.
There you go. That works.
Yeah, because that's what we do. We do this all for the money, right?
I'm doing it for the hose. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting old. I don't know if I can handle that anymore.
Ain't never too old for the honeys, G. Come on.
Maybe
now.
if the right one came along, I don't know.
Ain't never too old for the honeys, G. Come on now.
Yeah, that's it. Put me on the spot.
But
anyway,
I even have a sound effect for that, and I forgot to hit the button. Damn it. There you go.
So there's been a few things going on lately. We got some stuff to talk about, and somebody's blowing my phone up, so I apologize. At least it's on silent and vibrate, so you shouldn't hear that.
We can hear it, so you're fine.
Yeah, as long as you didn't just hear it, we're good. So Venezuela's on fire over elections. The UK is burning literally now over thought police. There's just so much happening in the world around us, and it's hard. It's truly hard for me to fathom that there are millions and millions and millions of people in this country that want to join into that type of atmosphere and are willing to back political candidates to do that. Uh, I'm also very sorry for the sniffles. I'm suffering summer allergies, so please bear with me there. Um, no matter what cover the corporate media complex provides for Kamala Harris, nothing changes the fact that she wants to make America a sanctuary nation. If you thought the last 3 years were bad, wait until this California liberal takes the White House. And you better believe it. Mass amnesty, more mass redistribution of taxpayer dollars to illegals, more mass death tolls from fentanyl, more mass human trafficking numbers, more mass crime will be unleashed under a President Harris. Kamala's vision will plague our country with boundless misery, and it will never be able to be undone. It will be the tragedy of California at the national level. It will be Kamalafornia. No, I didn't coin that. It's okay, though. Combine this with the corrupt media's unwavering support for the Democratic Party, and you have the perfect recipe for revisionist history. That is why, as soon as Kamala entered the presidential race, the corrupt media went into overdrive attempting to wipe the internet clean of her terrible record. This move by the Marxist media is a necessary strategy for them. The media knows how bad she really is. They know how unpopular her immigration and border policies are with the American people. But the mainstream media is an arm of the Democratic Party, comprising militant partisans masquerading as journalists. And they do masquerade because not the first one of them has the balls or integrity to do their real jobs. This backtracking by the media on Kamala's globalist immigration agenda was truly impressive to watch. Despite the fact that Kamala was assigned the job of border czar by Joe Biden in 2021, the media now wants you to believe this was a figment of your imagination. Don't believe your lying eyes. Outlets like Axios and GovTrack, which boast that it's one of the oldest government transparency websites in the world, were among the most obvious offenders. Before the Biden palace coup, CNN, MSNBC, CBS, and ABC proudly touted Kamala as the quote unquote border czar. But when Kamala was installed as the Democratic nominee, these outlets reversed course. Politico even claimed that the Biden Harris administration has kicked out far more immigrants than Trump ever managed to. As you read this, I am sure, as I read this, I am sure that there are other outlets erasing history at the behest of Democrats. All predictable, however. After all, Kamala has previewed what she would do in the Oval Office for the last 3 years. As border czar, she oversaw the largest invasion in the history of our country. Under Kamala's watch, at least 10 million illegals have been encountered at the border, and some studies suggest there are over 20 million illegals currently in the United States. Countless Americans have been killed as a result of the border crisis. Over 50 radical Islamic terrorists are running loose in the interior of our country because of the open southern border. 250,000 of our brothers and sisters have died because of fentanyl pouring into our communities. Women and children are being subjected to sexual harassment and rape. People don't feel safe under this regime. It has opened the floodgates into our homeland. And don't be fooled. Kamala has no intention of changing her ways if she becomes president. And don't take it from me. Take it from her campaign manager, Julie Chavez Rodriguez, the granddaughter of the communist-aligned Cesar Chavez. Chavez Rodriguez recently said Kamala Harris would continue Biden's border policies if she becomes president. This too, quite predictable. Of course, she would be all for Joe Biden's failed border and immigration policies. Before becoming vice president, Kamala said she supported legislation that would provide Medicare for all to illegals. As California's attorney general, she sided with then Mayor Gavin Newsom's sanctuary city policies in San Francisco. During her first failed 2020 presidential debate, she stated that she supported decriminalizing illegal border crossings altogether. As a senator, she compared immigration and customs to the Ku Klux Klan. She introduced a bill that would prohibit DHS from using any federal funds to construct or expand detention centers for illegals. She introduced legislation that would allow illegal aliens to receive work authorization in the United States. She repeatedly demanded protections for DACA recipients. Far-left immigration groups like the Latino Victory Fund paraded her around to solicit funding from her globalist elite backers in Hollywood and Silicon Valley. In recent days, Kamala's cronies in the mainstream media have attempted to paint President Trump and J.D. Vance as quote-unquote weird. Don't get me started on all of Kamala's policies that most Americans find weird. But here's this. I think that it is weird that Kamala doesn't seem to care about the murders, rapes, and assaults that are happening because of our open borders. I think it's weird she's not worried about the terrorists roaming free in our country. I think it's weird she discusses the troubles of a mentally disturbed transgender Dylan Mulvaney instead of Laken Riley, who was brutally murdered at the hands of an illegal. I think it's weird that the mainstream media are hiding the truth about her abysmal record on border security and illegal immigration. And I think it's weird that the Democrats' mainstream media militia is not ashamed at all. And you know, that they're running on calling America First candidates weird. The American people are hurting, just as millions and millions of Californians have suffered under the Democrat iron fist out there for decades. Now, am I saying that we need some authoritarian state to take our country back? No. But somebody should explain to me why America First is bad if they want me to do anything other than vote for Trump. Yes, he can be obnoxious. Yes, he has been dragged, but he's the candidate. And he may win this thing from a jail cell. Who knows? It could happen. We do need to take this country back before it's too late. If we're not careful, we're going to have at least another 4 years of the current nightmare. Gas prices elevated, grocery prices out of control, services prices out of control, inflation out of control, mortgage rates out of control. California is no place I want my kid or my grandchildren to grow up in. And no spin by the media is going to change that. The American people have 95 days to find out who Kamala Harris really is before it's too late. Now, it's not all bad. It isn't. It truly is not. Um, last night there was some fun that happened in the state of Missouri. If you don't know, Missouri had their primaries last night, and squad member Cori Bush lost her primary, and immediately following her primary defeat at the hands of her own constituents, outgoing squad member Cori Bush went to work illustrating the wisdom of the voters' verdict in one of the most bizarre concession speeches that was equal parts delusion and menacing. Representative Bush of Missouri promised to continue the fight against Jewish interests that exist mostly in her head. Uh, she had not been beaten, she explained. All you did was take some of the strings off. This is her quoted from her speech. Let's talk about what it really is. All they did was radicalize me. So now they need to be afraid. See, now they about to see this other Cori, the ousted congresswoman continued. APAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down. She said, let's clear something up. There has never been some quote unquote other Cori. The congresswoman on that stage is the same imprudent, highly ideological agitator who made herself a headache for her allies and a gift to her adversaries. The only Americans who are afraid of Cori Bush are the Democrats, who fret that her defeat might not constitute the final stake in the heart of her political career. And they have reason for trepidation. The far left activists whose anti Israel advocacy is too often indistinguishable from apologies for terrorism will be tempted to salve their wounded pride by blaming Bush's defeat on Jewish money. After all, her opponent, St. Louis County prosecuting attorney Wesley Bell, benefited from over $15 million in outside spending. Now, I'm not a fan of outside spending, okay, for any state, federal. I think that elections should be decided by the district where the election is happening. Chips fall where they may. Now, I mean, I get it. The parties have war chests and they give money for that, and you can't control that. But I'm just not a big fan of the outside spending, and quite frankly, um, I'm in favor of Bell winning this. Bush needed to go. She is a lunatic, but I still just don't like the outside spending. For much of the campaign, Bush and her allies attempted to frame these contributions as an intervention into the race by MAGA mega donors. But there is no need for euphemisms anymore. As the New York Times reported, Bell's campaign was financed almost entirely by the pro-Israel lobby, armed with their own narrative and emboldened by their persecution complex. The far left is primed for vengeance. But Bell's campaign was not conjured from thin air by a nefarious cabal of vaguely Hebraic interest. Indeed, it was Bush's pathological fixation with Jewish influence over American politics that drew Bell into the race to begin with. Bell had initially been running for the Senate, but decided to challenge Bush in a primary a few weeks after the Hamas attacks on Israel. That decision was made in response to an organic groundswell of hostility toward Bush's instinct to blame Israeli Jews for their own rape, murder, dismemberment, and immolation. But if Bush's defeat ends up emboldening progressives, that will be attributable to the same madness that led to her ouster in the first place. It cannot be that Bell was willed into this race as a result of sincere grassroots enthusiasm for challenging Bush. It must be that an exotic group of outsiders deployed ill-gotten gains in a mesmeric campaign of subterfuge. Quite unlike grassroots campaigns that result in progressive victories, those that spring up in the opposition to their goals and objectives must be inauthentic. When a double standard is reserved for Jews and their allies, folks, that's called anti-Semitism. And that is Cori Bush. Bush's speech may succeed only in reminding voters that she suffers from acute main character syndrome, fueled by bigotry and self-delusion. But the efforts of her allies in media to absolve her of blame for her fate all but assures that she will have imitators. We may have seen the last of Cori Bush, but I fear the disease of the mind from which she suffered is not going away. Woo! Crazy, crazy. If you haven't heard, U.S. defense officials said on Monday that at least 5 American military personnel were wounded in a missile attack on a military base in Iraq, stating that the casualty count was still subject to change. Base personnel are conducting a post-attack damage assessment, officials said. Iraqi sources claim that 2 rockets hit the Al-Assad air base in western Iraq. The attack comes after American forces conducted a strike against Iraqi militants last week. The strike purportedly killed 4 members of the Popular Mobilization Forces group, though some reports indicate that a Houthi drone expert may have been killed. Well, I mean, that's good news. How many drone experts can the Houthis have? Let alone the blowfish. Currently, Iraq hosts about 2,500 U.S. troops. The Iraqi government wants the American-led military coalition to begin withdrawing its soldiers in September. This withdrawal is expected to end in September of 2025, almost 23 years after the beginning of the Iraq War. Some Iraqi sources claim that American personnel will remain in the country in an advisory role. I don't know what they're advising. The Taliban is taking over already. We've covered this in the past. We knew this probably a year ago, if not longer. It's just absolute insanity. And I mean, look, I hate to say this, but this withdrawal needs to be very slow and drawn out. Maybe it can be sped up after January if Trump wins. But we don't need another Afghanistan here. We don't need Biden fucking this up and killing a bunch of Americans. And we certainly don't need Kamala dealing with this. Jesus Christ. The cackling alone, would probably drive somebody from the Taliban to putting a bullet in her head. Not that I'm advocating for that. I'm just saying I could understand it being a reaction. Anyway, bottom of the hour, I guess we can take a break and let Rick pay the bills with some commercials. Hopefully there's no TFR, but I have no clue because I don't control that. So Rick's going to push a button. We're going to stretch our legs, refresh our drinks, maybe maybe get rid of a little excess flatulence. Who knows? I don't know what you had for dinner. But anyway, we're going to be back in about 4.5 minutes. So do what you got to do and get your ass back in your seat.
1, 2, what you doing? I've been jumping through some hoops. Wanna get my body loose. Wanna tell you what to do. I've been running out of bounds like an animal struggling, looking for a diamond. I'm trying, I'm fighting, riding in the rhythm now. I just wanna stay up now, wanna stay up now. Yeah. Just wanna stay up all night with you. Just wanna stay up all night with you. It's not that I wouldn't ever do. Just wanna stay up all night with you.
All right, we are good for 3.5, and we are still hot mic on the video side. So,
Well, cool. Hello, video side.
how y'all doing?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody told y'all, but we're recording an album tonight, and we're kind of at the halfway point. So I'm going to need everybody to turn over in their seat for the second half of the show. Thank you. I don't hear anybody laughing.
1, 2, 3, flip. They can't hear you, sir. Or they can hear you. They can't respond though. Here,
Okay.
This make you feel better? Not what I thought it was going to be.
There
It had
you
a bunch.
go. There you
Had a bunch
go.
of smiley faces on it, so I thought it was actually going to be laughter. Maybe that's this one.
So
There
hey,
we go.
I have a legit question here because I'm just a small one-man operation. Where do I go that I can comment with the people that I'm seeing the chats from?
Well, actually our website's working again, but we're still trying to get some of that stuff working. So as far as commenting along with like the X feed, you actually have to go to the X link itself. Hang on, I'll send it to you.
Oh no, don't do that because there's no way in hell I can keep up with that and keep my notes open and all that shit. So
Well,
I'm
listen
sorry,
to you.
guys. I love y'all, but
Listen to you, technotard.
maybe once I get everything resituated because my house is still a wreck from the flooring and all that crap. Once I get everything situated again and I can do the dual screens in my little office on my desk, then we can do that. But
I mean, if you can see them, you can always shout them out on air like you used to do anyway.
yeah, I mean, I get it. And Andrew, if there's no TFR, are you really listening to KLRN?
Oh, I sent you my first attempt at what you requested in Green Room. You might want to look while you can.
You said in Green Room?
Yep. I have several other versions too. That was just the first one that I could make it do while I was pushing buttons for you.
Green Room. That's pretty damn cool. But he looks more combat than medic.
Yeah, I have a couple other versions. Hang on.
Oh, I mean, it's all good.
Well, no, I'm just saying I actually have a couple other versions. I've been working on a few while I've been doing things for you. This one actually has like the combat medic pack on the front, but it's not a full body shot. Hang on. Right over here. Right over here. Should be that one. Okay. And there's version number 2.
God, that actually kind of looks like me when I was that age.
That's kind of what I thought. All right, we're coming.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen a couple of pictures that you showed from back then, but I was like, that's actually pretty damn close considering what I told it. But all right, coming back.
All right. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. I got the best fucking bumper music in the business. Best intro and outro music, too. Can't be touched. I have the best music consultant ever. So, nah, 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 nah. Hey, by the way, Rick, who's on after me tonight?
Actually, Ordy and I will be starting a little bit early because there was supposed to be a makeup foobar, but she's not feeling well. So there's going to be about 30-minute break that I'm not sure what I'm doing with yet. And then Ordy and I should kick off about, what would that be? 8, fuck, I don't even know. 9:30 Eastern?
9:30 Eastern? Yeah. Sounds
Trying
right.
to do the conversions in my head. Not really
I know, because we live in God's country. So, I mean,
tired of having to do all these math for these fuckers. My time zone's perfect. Stop judging me.
Exactly. And damn it, Sam, get better. Oh my God. Okay. So as we touched on earlier, what a disaster Kamala would be for immigration.
I'm gonna have to resize your image a little bit and cut most of it off, but I'll get it.
I have some resizing to do too. Anyway, as I was saying, Kamala is so horrible on immigration, and it does rank, immigration does, as one of the top 3 issues according to voter opinion. The number 1 issue has been taken care of. That was Biden's age. Imagine that being the number 1 concern of American voters, percentage-wise. That's a little scary. I mean, I understand it being up there. You know, it's got to be on the board. But how is his age a bigger concern than the border and immigration? And how is his age a bigger concern than inflation and the economy, which are number 2 and number 3 on the list? Now number 1 and number 2. So immigration, by default here, with Biden dropping out of the race, has become the number 1 issue of American voters. There's little more Biden can do about number 1. He's taking care of it, like I said. And there's little he seems to want to do about number 3, which is the inflation and the economy. But on immigration, still lame duck President Joe Biden will leave quite a record for Kamala Harris to drag into November. The problem is that Biden has been obsessed with immigration. He is obsessed with finding new ways to bring more migrants to the United States. Some of his tricks resulted in tens of thousands of people entering, others just a few hundred. The numbers seem to matter less than the process. Such is obsession. Harris seems not to share his zeal, but inherits it as a legacy and electoral problem, just the same. Harris's problem began on the southern border, where practically concurrent with taking office, Joe threw open the doors. The Trump campaign is already releasing ads tying Harris to these Biden policies. After all, they said it was a joint administration from day one. And what did Biden say when asked if they were going to disagree on a topic? Does anybody remember? I remember. I'm old enough to remember, and I bet you Pepperidge Farm remembers too. Biden said if they ever disagreed, he would resign and give her the job. This is where Trump's people need to be concentrating. You know, skip the stupid jokes, skip the race banter. There's so much to club these two over the head like baby seals in the Arctic Circle. I mean, you got to go for it. This is where Trump wins the race. He wins it on policy. Time and again, His obnoxious ass wins on policy. If you ever wondered how Joe Biden could get the border so screwed up, remember he had help, a narrator reads in one ad. Here's Biden appointing Kamala Harris to be his border czar to deal with illegal immigration. And here are a record number of illegal immigrants. Good ad. Under the Obama administration, the standard was about 1,000 attempted crossings per day. By the time the Trump administration ended, the U.S. was deporting more people than were illegally coming into the country. In less than a month under Biden, the number of people illegally coming into the country shot up to more than 6,000 per day. Even with Biden's most recent executive order cutting back on administration, up to 2,500 crossings are still allowed each day. Now, that's that they know of. How many are they turning their back and missing? For the past 3 years, Biden policy allowed nearly 6,000 quote unquote asylum seekers to illegally cross the border daily, 7 days a week, 365. That number meant the southern border alone produced an average of 1 million immigrants every 200 odd days, a significant number given otherwise only about 1 million legal green card type immigrants are allowed into the U.S. each year. Some 2.5 million joined the illegal population under Obama, actually slightly less than under George W. Bush. Biden broke those records in his first 18 months in office with wide open southern borders. There was so much space for people to cross that they thought they were between Kamala's ears. More than 8 million migrants have entered the U.S. along the southern border since Biden took office in 2021. More than 8, probably closer to twice that. And that's according to Customs and Border Patrol data. That Harris was ostensibly in charge of border affairs does not help her at all. It gives her some sort of ownership and limits any behind the scenes denials. She seems at minimum sympathetic. In 2021, she visited the southern border for the first time, only to say, this issue cannot be reduced to a political issue. We are talking about children, we're talking about families, we're talking about suffering. Yeah, American children, American families are suffering due to these wretched border policies. In mid-June, Biden-Harris announced a new amnesty policy lifting the threat of deportation for tens of thousands of illegal aliens married to U.S. citizens. Now, Biden, to be fair, it was in all likelihood almost 100% his idea, promoted the new program at a White House event to celebrate the Obama-era Dreamers Directive, which offered deportation protections for young illegal immigrants. So let's stop here for a minute. First of all, I've been very open about my opinions on immigration on this program for years now. When Trump was in office the first time, all immigration should have been stopped. Okay? And then the first cases to be seen, heard, and approved should have been, as in this case, if you are an illegal alien married to a U.S. citizen and you don't have a criminal record, I mean, especially a violent political record, okay, I would be okay with approving that, being also that you either get on a track to getting legal and you have to report quarterly, monthly, whatever, whatever it is. I look, I have friends that went through this. It can be a little difficult, but they did it legally and they did it right. And my friend Juan is I guess it's been almost a year now. Wow, almost a year. Juan became a United States citizen. And he and his wife are living right here in town where I live. And they have two beautiful children. They are productive workers in the community. And they are productive in the church. And they are everything you want to see in a migrant story. Not like the assholes that are out there robbing stores and murdering people and raping people. No, that has to stop. That has to stop. And also, what has to stop is this DACA bullshit, because they were given. I mean, God, let's go back. It's Obama's years. Okay, we got Obama's years now, and there are still millions and millions of people who were protected under DACA who haven't even gotten a damn green card. You know what? Get them the fuck out. Every one of them. Didn't take advantage of the process, didn't do what you needed to do to become legal in the United States. Your DACA protections are gone. Go the fuck home. Do it right or don't do it at all. 3 of my 4 grandparents were immigrants. One way back. On my dad's side, my grandfather's family came to the United States from Scotland, and that was, I want to say it was in the late 1700s, mid 1700s. I don't know, something like that. My grandmother on my father's side was Cherokee. She's Native American. My other 2 grandparents on my mother's side were both immigrants who came to New York City through Ellis Island, one from Germany and the other from Spain. So don't tell me about how hard it is. If they can do it, anybody can do it. The new policy allows roughly 490,000 spouses of U.S. citizens an opportunity to apply for a quote unquote parole in place program, which would shield them from deportations and offer work permits if they have lived in the country illegally for at least 10 years. Now, see, here's the problem. Here's the problem. If you've been here 10 years and you're still illegal, get the fuck out. No. No, no, no. The new policy also removes a legal barrier to allow qualifying immigrants to apply for permanent residency and eventually U.S. citizenship. It's a privilege previously reserved solely for spouses of U.S. service members. Those newly eligible will have 3 years to apply for citizenship in time for the 2028 elections if Harris were to get that far. Kind of a scary thought, huh? You know, I don't think that they count on as many of those people not being liberal. You know, I can tell you right now, this family that I was telling you about, they he works in the construction business, and her family owns a restaurant, and it's a family affair. You know, most of the family works there, except for the two youngest that are too young to work. But brothers, sisters, uncle, mom, dad, they're all there. They're all there. And they came here and they did it right, and they make a good living at this. And they keep it all in house as much as they can. They only hire out when they have to. But you know, you get people that do it the right way, and it's like kicking them in the teeth when you offer it to people that didn't do it the right way. It just makes you wonder what the hell they're thinking. They're really thinking long game, because they get these damn weak ass jellyfish Republicans in Congress. Oh, well, just give us this. It's only this little bit. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, that's not so bad. And they give in on it. And then a few years later, it's, well, just give us this little bit. This isn't so bad. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, we can do that. And it builds like a fucking tidal wave. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. I don't know who this guy is. I've heard the name a few times. Apparently, he is a radio host, though. Charlemagne the God. He thinks a little highly of himself, because I can assure you that he's no God. He's not even a God with a little g. And I'm a big ass G, and I'm not a God. But radio host Charlemagne the God today told Black Americans not to be smitten by Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate choice. Harris tapped Walz on Tuesday, with some in the media suggesting he resembles an uncle or dad. Charlemagne, on his show The Breakfast Club, particularly advised Black people not to view Walz as part of their family, saying they need to embrace each other rather than white politicians. Actually, they need to embrace each other instead of any politicians. You know, Black people do not have to fall in love with these politicians, he said. It's just crazy to me how Black people are so quick to jump on white political penis, he said. It's unbelievable. Y'all don't have to create little cute nicknames for Tim Walz, okay? Y'all don't have to have your little slogans from the window to the walls. You don't have to do that. He said, I wish we loved each other immediately the way we are so quick to embrace these white politicians. He said, I mean, these capes just come out for these white politicians. He's not your uncle, all right? He's not your coach. He's not your fun dad. He's a politician. Let's treat this more like business. You don't have to fall in love with him. And for what it's worth, his far left record on issues like immigration, gender, and religion. And Charlemagne also later in the show talked about Harris bragging behind the scenes somewhere about working to get sex change surgeries for trans inmates. Yeah. Great expenditure of taxpayer dollars. Just wonderful, wonderful. Walz has a great record of spending taxpayer dollars too on bullshit projects, but we'll get into that another time. because speaking of time, we are running short on it a little bit, and I think that it is time for G's guaranteed happy ending. Yamagarni Village in the Karnataka state of India recently witnessed a strange sight. A jubilant crowd paraded a black dog covered in garlands through the streets until they reached a feast prepared in its honor. For the villagers, the return of the dog, which had been lost, was a miracle. Fondly called Maharaj, the elderly companion was lost among the crows of pilgrims at a site in the neighboring state of Maharashtra, but managed to navigate by memory back home, traveling nearly 150 miles on his own. In the last week of June, Maharaj joined its owner, Kamalesh Kumbar. You can't make that shit up, I swear to God. On a pilgrimage. Kumbar told the news that he visits the sacred site of Pandharpur every year on Hindu holy days in July and August. Maharaj has always liked listening to the bhajans, a devotional song. Once he had accompanied me on another padayatra trip to Jyotiva temple near this other city. Mohanbar told Indian news outlet PTI. For nearly 150 miles, the dog followed the master, who walked with a group of friends chanting these songs. At a certain point in his devotionals, Kumbar noticed that the dog was missing. When he went looking for him, a group of people told him that the dog had left with another group. Kumbar said, I still searched for him everywhere and I could not find him. So I thought maybe the people were right, that he left with someone else. I returned to my hometown on July 14th, he said. The very next day, to his surprise, Maharaj was standing there in front of my house, wagging his tail as if nothing had happened. He looked well-fed and perfectly fine. Overcome with happiness, Kumbar said he and the villagers celebrated Maharaj's return with a feast. It's such a miracle that the dog could find its way, although it was 150 miles or so from home. We think it was Lord Panduranga who guided him, Kumbar said. Well, I know I'm sure I butchered some names in that, but I mean, damn it, that's a great story. Dog finds his way home 150 miles all on his own. If you can't be happy about something like that, what the hell's your problem in this world anyway? As for me, that's it. That's the show. If you like it, tell your friends. If your friends like it, you need new ones. But they and you are welcome right here with me on Wednesdays on KLRN Radio, America's podcast network. I'm your host, The Grouch. Peace.
I hate this place. Nothing works here. The medications don't work. I've been here for 7 years.
Here's to us, here's to love, all the times that we messed up. Here's to you, feel the grass, 'cause the last few nights have kicked my ass. And thank you for your help. Tell them go fuck themselves. Here's to us, here's to us, here's to us.